what different printings are. We know that the poster was printed at least twice according to these invoices printed right here. There's supposed to be more, there might be a more complete set because Eric references more. I have asked him for a copy of this, however he has so far not shown a willingness to share that. I would like to also hopefully in time be able to post all of that online. I would like to try to explain this as much as possible with as much transparency as possible. The idea being to lay out what I think, why I think what I think, and have everyone attack it as much as possible and try to see if we can figure out what's the first printing, second printing, third printing. In my opinion, if we go over here, I want to show you some of the different printings, some of the different printings with the printing plates. Over the years, I've always been interested in all the ephemera and other things surrounding posters, printing dockets, film, printing plates, proof sheets, things that are usually considered waste products to the final poster. However, I think they're important in terms of trying to understand the different printings and what happened during this period of time. And as you can see right here, I've laid out two different sets right here, showing posters printed twice here, and I'll show you the first printing over there. This is one printing that was done. These are the actual proof sheets. This is still glued, taped on right here. This is the actual proof sheet that came with that poster still taped to it. These plates, you can see they're banged up. Sometimes they're marked, sometimes they're not. So this is one printing right here. It's printed 2 up with FT52. It's printed 2 up with FT64 because the difference of 12 numbers. The family dog was printed, it was numbered sequentially for purposes of sales from the family dog number 1 and so forth on up to family dog number 147. So by having these two posters that are different in time, it means these are both reprint posters. Over here we have another printing of the poster, and this is showing them 2 up. As you can see right here is the red, the blue, and then the completed sheet right here. So you know there's 2 printings right here. The first printing, however, which constitutes 3 printings in total that I can ascertain so far, is by this proof sheet right here. I think this original proof sheet, and I'll explain why in the next several minutes. It's printed with a poster. This was only printed once. These are the cards. The cards might have been printed twice, and a postcard from it. In addition, I have this wonderful, pristine example of a poster. It still has a tape on it when it's printed, because when the printers stored the film, they would put the film inside. They would tape the posters on the top. This is an example of that right here, which is a family dog number 63, taped, because they had cut it all up, but the tape remains. I'm just trying to show you that that's where they did it back then. Now, going through the different posters. On what, in Eric's book, not in the first or second, but in later books, he says that you tell the first printing by if it matches the card or not. The reasoning being that the cards in the poster were printed on the same sheet. Therefore, if the card that matches the poster should be the first printing. In this situation, though, I pulled out 2 cards right here. Here's a second printing. Here is a first. Here are 2 other printings. It is difficult to tell. In his book, he says it's done by the lighter blue, and only the darker printings. In the second printings are darker. Our second printings are darker blue. The first printings are lighter blue. When you look at these colors, I realize this is difficult to. It's probably difficult to capture on camera here. We're trying to show that that could be problematic. Also, like this is clearly a second printing here, and this is the lightest blue. So I do not know if this is an accurate method of doing it. Plus, colors tended to change on the press. They would add different colors. It might be when they first added the ink, it might have run down a little bit. For various reasons, it can be different. I try to go by, and Levon, who ran the Tila Trek, was one of the people who told me about this, and Marty Buchwald, the original printers at Tila Trek, They say it's better to go by glitches, by hickeys, by flaws on the film, or something that you can show that was repeated over and over again. Sometimes it is, so on these posters I have tried to distinguish them that way. So in doing this, I know that these two are first printings. They do not match these cards perfectly. In fact, the other printings probably match a lot closer. But I know that these two are first printings in my opinion. The odds of that are 99% plus. This has to be second printing because it was run 2 up. Although the film orders were sometimes run 2 up, but different posters, the family dogs, if they run 2 up like this, they are second printings. The reason why they were reprinted was because starting the fall of '66, summer and fall of '66, they found that they could sell these posters to head shops all across the country, and indeed they did. Like I explained earlier, that is one of the reasons why the posters are now numbered. For example, you notice right here it says FD64-1. And that way, when people order the poster, they can say, I want 10 copies of FD64. I want 7 copies of FD65, and so on. The assumption was made in Eric's first, I'm assuming in Eric's first book, and maybe subsequent ones, that this -1 meant something. That meant it was the first printing. And on some of the early family dogs, the second and third printing are marked correctly. But however, that is another discussion. Upon looking at his proof sheets, though, it's quite obvious that -1 does not really signify that that is truly a first printing. So one must go to what I feel are concrete things that you can show, you can demonstrate. I have not used interviews on this material. I have not, although I've not talked to many of the artists, I've known the printers and things. I feel that you have to have actual physical evidentiary proof in order to prove any assertions you make on the printings. I do not feel that interviews are a valid method. Contemporaneous notes might be. Eric said he took contemporaneous notes, interviewed extensively all of the artists and the printers. However, in asking him about that, he destroyed all of his notes many years ago. So we cannot check that. So what's left is to go by what does the evidence show, to quote CSI. And on these I found several different markings that I feel that go a long way in proving which printings are which printings. As I've said, these two posters here are first printings. This next part is going to be difficult to show because we do not have the camera work, the sophistication, or anything to give you the kind of clarity and closeness you need on these. I found, for example, a spot of blue, a spot of green right here that matches the spot of green over here. It's very difficult to see. However, I'm going to try a magnifying glass, see if it works. Does that work at all? You can see that, at least with the normal eyes, you can see that it is a green fleck. It's a green fleck that's printed on the paper, which means it was on the green plate. And so in all the first printings, it should bear that. The other thing is there's a little white void spot right there, and I don't know, hopefully this will capture it accurately. I don't know, we're going to try. And this is matched on this right here. I prefer to match things over 2 or 3 posters if at all possible, just in case, because you want to try to be as certain as you can about any assertions you make. These two, the green fleck and this white void here, do not match either of these. The other thing that should be noted is that both of these posters are identical to each other. Probably because they use the same film and do what's called step and repeat. They shot the film and shot it again. And here, there are 2 markings on the second printing here. They're not present on the first. On here, there is a black dot in the M in Miller, which hopefully you can see there. There's also a black dot on the B in Blue's band. That are not present on the first printing. Because of this, there also is the other printing, which we showed over there. So there's at least 3 printings. However, for purposes here, we only could go through these posters right here. Let's stop for a second.